So all of you can see my screen, right? Okay, so I will try to discuss it it's a bit slow, but so that you get the entire concept. So what we're going to discuss is inheritance, and obviously the different kinds of inheritance that we have. Okay, so inheritance. So initially, we'll discuss is the basic, which is the single inheritance. So the single inheritance that you have works in this way. For example, you have over here is parent class, and then you have is the child class. So what will happen in the child class is the child class obviously will inherit all the properties from the parent class. Okay, this is what the reusability will be all about. Okay, so the parent class that you have basically is the class from where you have inherited. Parent class is also known as the base class, by the way. Okay, your child class is the one that it inherits from. Okay, it's also known as the derived class because obviously it inherits from the parent class. We'll look into a very simple example of it. Okay. Sorry, not package. So let's say we will create an example where just my other keyboard. So let's say I create is a class, and let's say I create A, the class A. Okay. And we can say over here, just make a very simple example right now. Okay. So this is all in the class A, for example. And then we can do is we can simply create is a class B. But inside class B, what I will do is I will add all the properties of class A. So that's how you inherit, frankly speaking. It's very easy. I'll just write pass because I don't want anything to be defined within class B. That's for a purpose I'm doing so. Let's say if I create is an object 1, and let me make it equal to B class. So I made an object, and I made that object to class B. So let's say if I print out the object, and dot is the way you access the properties within the class, and that was X. So what happens now is, why is it saying this is all in class B? Did you notice that in line 7, I made an object 1, and that was equal to the class B. So then I'm printing object 1, which is an object of class B, and then I'm trying to access variable, and this variable has been defined in class A. So you do get the point that this is the way we can inherit the properties. Means B has all the variables that were defined by class A. It's one of the very basic of inheritance right in front of you. Yes.
सर आपने ऑब्जेक्ट 1 के आगे x क्यों डाला जब आपने ऑब्जेक्ट 1 को पहले डिफाइन कर दिया? Like if you cut the x तो क्या रिजल्ट होगा?
वो हमें करना पड़ता है. देखो ना, the reason why we have to do is क्योंकि I will be creating multiple objects within my classes, and I want to access my objects. Okay, तो मुझे object एक class को assign करना पड़ेगा. Maybe I have multiple classes.
Can you just give me an example with multiple objects, like सिर्फ एक और डाल के ताकि I get a better understanding?
No, you have to specify the object. You have to specify the object, and then you have to specify that.
But like right now we just have one object. So can you just add another object?
Like what object, for example?
So like in class A, you can add Y.
Yeah, we can add another object y. I can surely do that. We can make y. Okay. No, in class, are you saying? In class, are you saying?
Yeah.
This is another um, class variable defined. Yes, class variable defined. So what you're saying is, if I write object one dot y, I don't get what you're saying, because if I don't write object one, it will obviously say that it's not defined. And if I write over here is obviously v x. But if I fail to write object one, and if I just simply specify x, it will say that name x is not defined. Because obviously you have to do is you made an object, and this object basically is equal to this class. Then using that object, you are doing so. So using an object, from that object, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a variable out of it. You're trying to get a property out of it. You cannot get a property directly like this. You display it in an object, and then you get it from an object. So you have a class, you have an object, and you have further variables and properties of it.
Okay.
For example,
Thank you, sir.
for example, we talk about cars. Okay, a car, basically you have major blueprint of the car. Then you have different makes of the car, and every car has its own properties. You get the point. So object basically is one type of car, but that object will have its own certain properties. So you can't say, please list down the features of the car. I would say, what car are you referring to? Are you referring to Honda, Toyota, or what? Then it's okay, I mean about Honda. So you have to, you can't be generic. By specifying X or Y, you're being generic. You're not being specific. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Sir,
Yes,
जो
madam.
object है, is it a keyword या the name that we've put in? Because the value नहीं हो रही.
ऑब्जेक्ट क्या है बेटा? सॉरी, मैं वो आपकी आवाज कट गई थी.
Is object a keyword? Because उसका color तो change नहीं हो रहा.
This could be anything. This could be whatever. It could be whatever. That doesn't make a difference. Okay?
Okay.
That doesn't make a difference. Right? Don't worry, मैं इसको बहुत elaborate करूंगा बार-बार, and we'll discuss this in detail. हमने तीनों classes को discuss करना है. Inheritance को, sorry, the 3 types of inheritance that we have. Give me a second, let me make another one. Let's say I can make a class by the name of, make sure that the class that you create, uska jo first letter, it has to be capital. Please remember that. Okay, let me use def to define a function with it, and let's be self, or इसमें हम करते हैं, let's say, मैं different angles explain करूँगा. So one part I'll explain with different angles. Let's say I want to print over here is, I can write over here is the first function. Child, and child obviously is going to inherit the parent, and within this, let's define the property of this. Let's say second self, or ये हम कर देते हैं print function. Oops, I missed it. So now what we'll do is we'll simply refer to an object. So we'll make an object wow, is equals to child. Okay, and then we'll say is, let's say, wow dot first, and let's see what happens when you write wow dot, what is the name of it, second. So if I run this, let's see what's happening, and let's see why is it happening. So let's see what's happening. So I made a class parent. I just made a definition over here first, and within that I've used this print. Fine, no problem. I made another class by the name of child, and obviously, but child is inheriting the parent. You can see over here. So over here it says this is the second function. I made an object which is now pointing towards the child class. That's the thing important. Remember, it's pointing to child class. If it's pointing to child class, what happens next is when I write wow dot first, this means the first one was the parent class. So it does print me the first function. So this is where everything becomes clear. Obviously, this would happen because this was its own. But this is the important thing, that how is it working? Because obviously because of this. A random second example. Clear? Yes, beta.
सर जो आपने wow is equals to child लिखे और y is equals to first लिखे, उसकी क्या जरूरत है? आपने ऊपर ही प्रिंट कर दी.
मैंने ये बताना कि what I want to explain is कि मैंने एक ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया है which basically will have the properties of child. So if it has the properties of child, इसका मतलब उसके definition क्या लिखा हुआ है, ये print. Basically तो ये लिखा हुआ है. तो if I say, हाँ बोलो.
सर लेकिन आपने क्लास चाइल्ड को पेरेंट को भी तो इनहेरिटेंस किया, इसका मतलब है कि जो दिस इज द फर्स्ट फंक्शन वो भी तो उसमें मतलब चाइल्ड में ही आएगा क्योंकि वो उसको लिंक कर रहा है.
तो यही तो मैं एक्सप्लेन करना चाह रहा हूँ. मेरी बात को
सर मैं पूछ ही रही हूँ कि जो लास्ट पे आपने 9, 10, 11 लाइन की लिखी है, मतलब उसकी क्या जरूरत है? अगर आप उसको रिमूव करें तो क्या होगा?
अच्छा लेट्स ट्राई. एक सेकंड होल्ड करो. It will not give me anything.
इसका मतलब है कि हम लोगों को ऑब्जेक्ट डिफाइन करना पड़ता है ताकि क्लास के वेरिएबल्स आउटपुट हो.
Exactly. यही मैं जब उस्मान ने क्वेश्चन पूछा था, I did describe you कि क्लासेस एक जेनेरिक ब्लूप्रिंट होता है. उसके अंदर यू क्रिएट इज आर ऑब्जेक्ट्स जो मेक ऑफ द कार होते हैं. उस मेक ऑफ द कार की अपने एट्रीब्यूट्स होंगे, प्रॉपर्टीज होंगी. अगर आप एक ऑब्जेक्ट ही क्रिएट नहीं कर रहे हो तो हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू डिफाइन इट? क्लास को. क्लास एक फंक्शन नहीं है. You don't deal with classes just like the way we used to do with functions. The function लिखा, print कर दिया, कॉल किया, आया आ गया. It's not that way. Okay? मैं एक और एग्जांपल. अच्छा, now if you generally talk about classes inheritance की, हम एंड पे डिस्कस कर लेंगे किसके एडवांटेजेस क्या है. बट ऑब्वियसली आई एम प्रीटी श्योर यू नो किसके एडवांटेजेस क्या होंगे. हम एंड पे डिस्कस करेंगे. जस्ट गिव मी 1 second. लेट मी क्रिएट a more better example and more. So let's say I can have over here is a class brands, for example, or यहाँ हम define कर देते हैं. Let's say brand 1 is equals to for example, right? Brand 2 is equals to, let's say, I can make myself a brand. It's just fine. Not a brand, obviously. Then we can make another brand, brand 3. Or इसको हम क्या देते हैं? Let's say what can we say? Now what we'll do is I'm trying to create a more practical example. Let's make a class products. Well, the products के अंदर let's use brands. Product 1 जो है we can say is where product 2 is equals to product 3 is equals to right. So now what we can do is let's create an object. Let's make an object. It's just like fine to use object. Your object one use called or whatever is equals to products, and let's print it out. And let's print out, like say, I will have over here is object one dot brand one plus I'll just write over here is deals with object one dot product one. If everything is correct, it should work. Let me just check first. Yeah, so we have this deals with commercial IT, Honda deals with car manufacturing. Let's say see what's happening over here. Again, another example of your inheritance, your single level inheritance. So हो क्या रहा है? इधर मैंने एक class define की by the brands. Fine. Then I made another class by the name products, which is obviously inheriting everything from the brands. उसकी अपनी definition है. And then what I have is object one. I made an object, and that is equal to products. Obviously now it has brand. So if I say print this, it will print j dot, add a text to it, and then include this as well. So this is a very good example to deal with single level inheritance. This is single level inheritance. So we talked about with 3 different examples the single level inheritance किस तरह काम करता है. So इसको मैं copy करता हूँ because I will share all this with you as notes as well. So you have is single level inheritance. And then we have to discuss is multiple inheritance. What is multiple inheritance? पहले इसको मैं explain करता हूँ. For example, I have is this. I have to make control. So I have parent class 01. Okay. Parent class 02. And I have over here is child class. So this is the way this will work. So your child class will be obviously inheriting from both the classes. Let's look at 1 or 2 example of this as well. कि ये किस तरह काम करेगा? Let's have a look at this. This is your multiple inheritance. So for multiple inheritance, let me just create a basic example जो हमने इससे पहले create की थी. I should have not deleted it to save time. Anyway, it's okay. Class, let's say parent, we can define. And again, we can say, let's say 1. Let me name it as parent 1. So, first to define करते हैं. Okay, now let's see what we can do now is make child class. Or इसमें how do we do it? We'll write over parent 1. And the way we do it is comma parent 2. Both will be defined in this case. इस तरह देखते हैं अभी. So इसकी भी अपनी define करते हैं. It should have its own as well. So function 3 कर देते हैं इसको, and this should be
सर ये जो define function 3 या self है statement का क्या मकसद है?
बेटा ये एक हम क्लास के अंदर we are defining is a function. How do we define functions within classes? हमने initialization भी डिस्कस किया था, मगर आज मैं initialization डिस्कस नहीं कर रहा. In order to define simple functions within classes, that's how we make simple functions. But when we define functions within classes, we need to have self, because self जो पहला लेक्चर था क्लासेस का उसमें मैंने डिस्क्राइब किया था, self will help you to link different classes together. Self has to be used. So जो पहला लेक्चर था अगर उसको प्रैक्टिस आप करोगे आपको सेल्फ की आइडिया हो जाएगा कि सेल्फ हम क्यों यूज कर रहे हैं. That's the way it's done within classes when you make functions. अच्छा हमने ये कर दिया function 3. Now what will we do? Do with me. Come on, do with me. Now what will I do? I'll make an object. Let's say 1. I'll assign it to what? What will I assign it to? What will I assign it to? Will I assign to parent 1? Parent, what I'm trying to do? I will assign it to child. Yes. Agree. And what will I do now? I will obviously use object 1, and to refer to its property, I will say, FUC 1. This was the function. And the same way we will do is so we'll have over here is function 2 and function 3. Before I run this, all of you please do a dry run testing karo, okay, yourself, and socho kya hona chahiye. What's happening over here? Obviously by now you will get it. Okay, if I run this, you will think on your own what's happening. So why am I getting this is function 1, function 2? Why am I getting these? The reason why I'm getting is because I made an object which obviously has child. And now over here we have a child that has the properties of both the parents. Very simple concept. This is why we call it multiple inheritance, because you can have a class that can inherit even 5 to 6 or even 10 different classes के properties. मैं इसकी एक example देता हूँ. आप एक ऐप पे काम कर रहे हो और इस ऐप में you have different tabs और 2-3 tabs में you want to do is you want a calculator to be available as well. And calculator की different class आप बनाते हो. So आप चाहोगे कि I don't want to define all the variables in the scripting back. So why not inherit all the properties from the calculator class and use it over there? Did you get my point? So are we not talking about reusability, time saving? There's a lot of advantage to it. जब आप full object oriented programming तरफ जाओगे in your obviously bachelor's degree program, वहाँ आप इसको बहुत ज़्यादा use किया करोगे. अभी इसमें the concept is there obviously, and we will be using it. Obviously, it's not that we will not be using it, but not with a lot of code. Obviously, we're not doing that. हमने छोटे-छोटे snippets को use करना है, and that's it. अब उसी example, अच्छा, any question with regard to this, or is this clear?
सर जो हमारे क्लासेस के अंदर जितने भी फंक्शंस होंगे हम लोग उन्हें डिफाइन करेंगे मतलब ऑब्जेक्ट के थ्रू.
You're talking about the parent 1, parent 2 की बात कर रहे हो ना?
नहीं सर देखिए ऑब्जेक्ट को हम लोगों ने चाइल्ड में कर दिया और उसके बाद चाइल्ड में तीनों क्लासेस थे तो वो डिफाइन होंगे.
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
फिर हमने फंक्शन 1, फंक्शन 2 और फंक्शन 3 को भी ऑब्जेक्ट में कन्वर्ट किया. तो मतलब हमारी जितनी भी क्लासेस के अंदर फंक्शंस होंगे हम सबको ऑब्जेक्ट में डिफाइन करेंगे.
नहीं, कन्वर्ट नहीं किया. What we're doing is we're trying to access from object 1 what was within the what was within function 1, what was within function 2. It could be a whole snippet to calculate something. Over here is just a simple print function. That's it. Convert नहीं हम कर रहे. हम उसके अंदर जो content है उसको display कर रहे हैं, उसको display करा रहे हैं, उसको perform कर रहे हैं. You get my point? Okay. So when we use dot, which means we are referring to it. The object now is going to refer or extract information from function 1, then function 2, then function 3.
सर मतलब वो तो समझ लगी हम कन्वर्ट नहीं कर रहे. लेकिन मैं ये पूछ रही हूँ कि अब जितने भी लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे एक क्लास के अंदर 2-3 फंक्शन हो सकते हैं.
जी बिल्कुल हो सकते हैं.
तो मतलब हम वो सारे फंक्शन जितने भी फंक्शन होंगे वो सबको हम ऑब्जेक्ट में डिफाइन मतलब एक्सेस करेंगे. बिल्कुल करेंगे. मैं आपको आगे फ्यूचर में एक एग्जांपल क्रिएट करके दिखाऊंगा मगर थोड़ा सा लेंथी हो जाएगा. काम करेंगे और हो सकता है. यू राइट. अब इसी की मैं एक एग्जांपल वही क्रिएट करता हूँ. अच्छा मैंने वो कैन आई गो बैक, होल्ड ऑन. I wish I can. I don't want to type it all over again. I just want to give you an example. So, जो popular में, what will I type inside?
Products and brands.
Very good. Brands, comma, products. दोनों को हम यूज कर रहे हैं. Brands and products. Spelling mistake now, one obviously you will have a problem. और इसमें हम let's define ourselves. जो हम last time भी किया था, नहीं. मतलब मैं उसी को यूज कर लेता हूँ. Why should I type? Yes. I'm sure you got it, but still let me still do it. इसको डिफाइन तो कर दें. इसको हम डिफाइन तो किया नहीं. So we can have is I want to keep some of this spelling, like it's pop u1 is equals to, let's have it 90. Let's have u2 is equals to 89. 3 is equals to 98, for example. Okay. Now we can say is object. So you get the point. मगर मैं पूरा कर ही देता हूँ. Okay. So let's see, what do we get here? We get over here, no, there's an error. Why there's an error? What did I do wrong? Oh, I didn't add the plus, obviously, because I'm trying to concatenate with an object. So object is not a string. Oh, no, something else. Let's have a look. 1 second, please. Popular. Brands, and I did write this as well, is equals to, so use with although this does not make a difference. Cannot consist of method resolution, the basis brands, the class of popular. Spelling सही है.
सर
ये
आपने क्लास प्रोडक्ट में ब्रांड लिखा है वो तो नहीं गलत?
किधर 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 किधर
सर जो क्लास प्रोडक्ट्स है उसके अंदर आपने ब्रांड्स लिख दिया और तीसरे में आपने दोनों को कर दिया.
क्योंकि मैं दोनों से, हाँ ये गलती है. गुड. ये क्यों लिखा है? ये दिस शुड हैव बीन एलिमिनेटेड. इससे ऑब्वियसली इससे क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है? यू आर रिफरिंग टू दिस, राइट आमना? इसकी बात कर रही हो ना कि ब्रांड्स.
Yes, sir.
या तो ये तो मैं हायरार्किकल इनहेरिटेंस को डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ, वो हमारे सिलेबस में नहीं है. ये भी हो सकता है मगर नो. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. वेरी वेल डन. So what's happening now is, obviously you got it. So this is your multiple inheritance, because another example, popular के अंदर brands and products भी हैं, but popular has its own definition, and that's how it's working. इसको copy कर दो as well. और last हम discuss करेंगे another type. Just 1 second. अच्छा, can all of you join back? क्योंकि फिर वो दरमियान में ना वो फिर we have disconnect. Please join back.